You invaded Earth? The Council could only stare in shock. Sci-Fi, HFY stories beginning. The Grand Council of the Galactic Concord had convened in silence, the kind of silence that vibrates through the bones of 1,000 species at once. Holographic banners of empires, fleets, and noble houses shimmered above the chamber. The air smelled faintly of ozone and fear. At the center stood a single being, scales of obsidian, fangs dulled with age, and a tremor in his clawed hands. Admiral Vrix'thal of the Karth Dominion had just returned from what should have been a swift conquest. He had invaded Earth. Now he stood before the Council, defeated. "State your report," hissed Chancellor Vor, her mandibles clicking. "You led 3 fleets, 30 warships, and orbital superiority within an hour of arrival. What happened?" Vrix'thal opened his mouth, closed it again, and then said softly, "They called it a counterattack. We called it extinction." The room buzzed with confusion. Dozens of species murmured in disbelief. The notion that a pre-FTL planet, isolated and ignored by the galaxy, could repel an invasion was absurd. "Clarify," demanded the Chancellor. "How can primitives without faster-than-light capability destroy a Dominion invasion fleet?" The Admiral's voice shook. "They are not primitives. They are humans." Middle 1. First contact. 3 weeks earlier, the Karth Dominion had identified Earth as an ideal subjugation world, mineral-rich, densely populated, and strategically located near the Orion Spur. It was supposed to be a clean operation. The Dominion had conquered countless species. Humans were to be another line in their record. The first fleet entered orbit quietly, expecting chaos below. Instead, they were met with eerie calm. The humans detected their presence within minutes, not by energy signature, but through civilian telescopes and something they called social media. Within an hour, the entire planet knew aliens were here. There was no panic, no begging, just planning. "They laughed at us," Vrix'thal recalled. "Their broadcasts mocked our arrival. They made images, moving pictures, depicting our failure before we even began." The Council murmured again, confused. "Propaganda?" asked a delegate. "Worse," Vrix'thal growled. "They weaponized their creativity. They guessed our tactics with unnerving accuracy. Before the first dropship landed, they knew our weakness: communication disruption, kinetic shielding limits, orbital dependency. They had no FTL, yet within hours, they had studied us." The Admiral's tail lashed. "They are predators who use curiosity as their teeth." 2. The first battle. When the first wave landed in North America, the humans didn't scatter. They didn't surrender. "They sent farmers," Vrix'thal said. "Farmers with rifles, civilians with modified vehicles, drones armed with explosives. We laughed until we realized their primitive weapons could pierce our shields through sheer kinetic mass. They fought with tools that shouldn't work, yet did." The humans didn't rely on traditional tactics. They moved in small, unpredictable groups. They communicated across continents through encrypted networks, coordinating strikes faster than the Dominion's fleet intelligence could process. "They fought like swarms," the Admiral said. "Not disciplined soldiers, but improvisational demons. Every loss taught them. Every defeat was a lesson." He swallowed. "And they adapted faster than any species I have seen." The Council's hololights dimmed slightly. Several representatives exchanged glances. "You're suggesting," one said slowly, "that this pre-warp species learned how to defeat you mid-battle?" "Yes," Vrix'thal rasped. "And they learned us. They recorded our weapon discharges, mimicked our thermal readings, replicated our energy pulses. Within days, they had drones simulating Karth signatures, confusing our targeting systems. By the time the second fleet arrived, they could predict our formation shifts." He lifted his head, eyes burning. We came to dominate a primitive world. Instead, we found an apex predator that studies war for sport. 3. The human mind. The Council demanded specifics. They wanted data, analysis, something rational to explain the defeat. Vrix'thal activated his datapad. The chamber filled with holographic projections, footage from the invasion. Cities burning, yes, but not with surrender. Streets filled with humans fighting back, coordinating through handheld devices, guerrilla units emerging from sewers and skyscrapers alike. They have something called internet, Vrix'thal said. It connects nearly every human mind. They used it to adapt in real time, to analyze our attacks, and to share countermeasures. Imagine an entire species acting as one evolving organism. He zoomed in on a transmission. A human general, scarred and sleepless, addressing millions through a live broadcast. They want us afraid. Good. Fear sharpens the blade. Let them come. We'll show them what Earth does to invaders. A low hiss swept through the chamber. That one command, Vrix'thal said quietly, was transmitted to every corner of the planet. Within an hour, resistance forces doubled. Within a day, they began counterattacking orbitally. Orbitally, someone interrupted. Yes, Vrix'thal nodded grimly. They used their own planet's industries, crude rockets, nuclear warheads, magnetic railguns, to reach us in low orbit. Their technology is centuries behind ours, but their insanity filled the gap. He paused, claws trembling. They launched missiles that used their own oceans as coolant to bypass our scanners. They detonated their own satellites to create debris clouds that blinded our sensors. They made their sky a weapon. 4. The turning point. The council chamber was silent now. Only the sound of Vrix'thal's ragged breathing echoed. On the third week, he said, they attacked our fleet directly. It should have been impossible. Humans had no ships beyond their orbit. And yet, they boarded Karth cruisers. How? Asked a stunned delegate. Through suicide missions, Vrix'thal replied. They strapped propulsion engines to orbital debris, to bodies, to metal tubes. They crashed into our hangars and airlocks, fighting in zero gravity, with improvised armor. They tore open our decks and vented entire corridors. He leaned forward. Do you understand? They fought us with rocks and rage. Their weapons were not elegant, they were effective. They didn't need precision. They only needed persistence. The holo feed changed again. It showed a Karth dreadnought surrounded by dozens of small human craft, most barely functional. Each glowing red with heat, riddled with damage, still pushing forward.